Hi everybody, it's Chris here. Welcome back to Excel VBA 30 Real World Problems and Solutions. Yes, this is the series where we work through 30 situations I find myself in all the time when I'm working with Excel VBA. We go through how to work through them in about 30 minutes. How about that? Let's get another session done today. But a big welcome if you're watching live. Let's see who's with us today. Michael's with us. How are you doing? I think you've been all the sessions so far, Michael. Thank you to Lou. Thank you to you. Lee, how are you doing? Good to see you as well. Any football going on at the moment, Lee? Oh, yes, it was Man United at the weekend. Maybe I shouldn't ask you, mate. I'm not sure. Albert, how are you doing? Good to see you again. Jazz is with us, one of our members, Monday members. How are you doing, Jazz? Just had some feedback from Jazz, actually, from the session we did on Monday, on Members Monday, which was all about the random content generator. So this file, the random problem generator, which is not your husband or wife, it's just an Excel file. We've got a file on the website, which is called The Secrets of the Random Task Generator. And I talk you through the mechanism. It's called a Monte Carlo simulation, which is a technique from management science. I talk you through it. It takes about 40 minutes. The link's in the video description below, and that gets you access to the video. I'll also send you an automated email about our awesome Members Monday member community. So you will receive that too if you go to get access to the video. Anyway, Jazz gave me some feedback on the video and said she thought it was amazing. Didn't understand it first time, but I thought it was great. DC is with us as well. How are you doing, DC? Long-term support of the channel. Katie is with us. How are you doing, Katie? Good to see you again. Keith is with us, another one of our Members Monday members. How are you doing, Keith? The chef is here. Chef, I haven't seen you before, but a big welcome, my friends. Where are you from? And Ebby is with us too. So good to be with you too. Ebby is saying you're new to the stream. There's always a few new people on the stream, Ebby. So introduce yourself. What are you working on in VBA? You know, are you a student? Are you a professional? What are some of your Excel ambitions and struggles? That's what the channel, that's what the community is all about. So thanks so much for being with us, guys. And without further ado, let's get going. The random problem generator is ready to rock. Straining at the leash there, ready to go, and there go the balls. What are we going to be doing today? Well, I always look through the topics and think, oh, I don't fancy that one. I do fancy that one. So I've got some preferences today. I've got to say, here comes the winning ball. What are we doing? And we're going to move data to other open files. We're going to move data to other open files in Excel VBA. So this is going to be a bit of a tricky one from a presentational perspective, because we're using multiple files. We're going to have to switch between files. So the presentation might not be as smooth as usual. Not that it's very smooth usually, is it? Let's be honest, but it might be even worse than usual. So just bear with that. But is this something you're doing in your work? Is this something you're doing? Are you moving data between files? It's something I do all the time. Today, I've been working on VBA all day. You know, I have lots of variety in my job, but today has just been like a pure VBA day. So I should be limbered up. And one of the things this file does that I've been working on is it moves data from one file to another. So it's a very common thing to do. As I say frequently on this stream, I do a lot of work with football data. And what are some of the features of kind of the industry and how it all works in football data? Well, you constantly have data coming in because you have results going into databases. And I know Lee, who's in our football community, and in fact, you know, both our communities, is a good support of us. Lee is working with football data, and this is something we have to deal with. You know, we have a data file. We want to move that data file into some kind of model, or maybe we've got some kind of consolidated database. So it's a very common thing to want to do. So, and this is a good one from Keith as well. Yeah, what about moving data between Excel and Word, or even Excel and PowerPoint? That's something I've been doing this summer on a project. Is that something you're interested in doing as well? Maybe that's something we'll cover on the channel. And Lee is saying, absolutely, this interested me massively if I can find a quick way to move data between football files. Okay, Lee, I would say we're not going to go into the same level of detail that we're going to in the football community videos, of course, but we'll go through the basics, and I think there'll be some at least something you can pick up from this. I'm just going to go ahead and create another file. And so you don't have to what I say, so that you don't have to see my horrendously organized filing system, I'm just going to go ahead, create two files. So you do need two files open. That presents some problems. It's going to present some problems when we're using VBA, because we're going to have two files open in the VBA editor. So just something to be aware of. I'll flag that up early doors, and when we deal with that, I'll kind of flag that up again. Okay, I think we're ready to go. Right, have we got two files here? So I've got a file called Live 16 Demo and another file which is called Live 16 Demo File B. And in addition, you're going to have the developer tab open, Visual Basic Editor. If you don't know how to do that, in the video description below, there's a link to our Excel VBA Beginner Building Block series, which I think is our best beginner series by a mile. That's going to take you through everything from scratch, how to set up your system for Excel VBA. So just take a moment to familiarize yourself with the Project Explorer up here. So you might not have Solvo, we won't have to worry about that. I've got it installed on my system. And FuncRes gives us some additional data analysis functions or something like that. So just worry about the little symbols here that have file names next to them, and just be conscious which file are we working in. So my aim is going to be to put the code in the Live 16 demo file. So I'm going to suppose this is kind of our base file, our master file, and we're going to try to get some data from demo file B into our what I'd call our destination file. So that's where we want to get the data to. So I'm being very conscious about what the Project Explorer looks like and where we're working in the Project Explorer. So when I go insert module, where has that module gone? Has it gone in the Live 16 demo file? Has it gone in the Live 16 demo file B? I want it in this file. Otherwise, you might get a situation where you close the file, close the wrong file, and you lose code. So we're trying to avoid that situation. Right, as always, option explicit. Okay, then we're going to say sub. I'm going to say import data from another file. So as always, an informative name for the routine. And yeah, that might seem a bit verbose. It might just seem like a long name for a routine. I do agree with that, but I think the benefits, the pros outweigh the cons. For me, the longer the name, whether you're talking about a variable, whether you're talking about the name of a routine, because it's informative, it tells you what the routine does. That for me is less stress than having very short and non-informative routine or variable names. I know Jazz has got a different view on that one. Okay, and absolutely, yeah, DC on the money here. 90% of automation work I do is pulling in data from other sources and sheets. And there are some good options in Excel. There's some good options for getting data, not just from other Excel files. And we should mention these to begin with. Power Query. Power Query is certainly something you should look at if you're doing this kind of thing. VBA is just one of multiple options, but for me, it's always a good option. Right, so let's say source file name here. So the general mechanism we're going to try to set up, Alt-HW20 and F4 to repeat the last action. And Alt-HBA is going to give us all the borders there. So the idea is going to be, we want to input the file name that we're going to bring the data in from. So my assumption is going to be this file is already open. The file that we want to import data from is already open. Now, that assumption might work for you, might not work for you. If the file is closed and you actually want to open the file, that's also possible. But I found that code to be quite messy. I'm not 100% confident with that code. I have used it on my projects in a very kind of practical way. But I would recommend having the file open if at all possible. It does simplify things. Not the only way, but it does simplify things. Okay. So source name file. So I'm going to go into the VBA editor here. I'm going to say source file name. So there's another long variable as a string. It's a string variable because it's the variable to store the file name. There we go. How many syllables are variable? 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sure I'm not saying variable with 2 or 3 syllables here. Variable. There's no rush. Got to calm down. Okay, good stuff. So source file name. So the first job is to make sure that our file can see the other file. Does it know it's there? Does it know the file's open? That's half the battle, really. Can be tricky, and there's system-to-system differences here. System-to-system differences. So something that works on my system might not work on your system, but there's only really one thing. So what's the name of the file? The other file is called Live 16 Demo File B. So I'm going to type that in. 16 Demo File B, something like that. Now, talking about system-to-system differences, the specific thing is, do you need the file extension there? Now, this will work fine on some people's systems without the file extension. Other people will need the file extension in there. And I think there's some Windows setting that determines whether you need it or not. But just look out for that. And if it's not working, then make sure you try both options with and without the extension there. DC same for both. Names for subs and variables can be quickly referenced by starting to type and then pressing Control and space. DC has told me this many times over the years. Control and space will allow us to, I'll try to do that today. And that means Keith's absolutely right. Yes, that means you only have to write the full name once. Yes, here at Tiger, you're getting insights from me, hopefully, and insights from our community. That's what it's like in our Members Monday community. Don't forget, guys, let me quickly plug our Secrets of the Random task generator that I use at the beginning of these streams. I put a video on the website that talks you through how I put it together using Monte Carlo simulation. The link is in the video description below. You put your email in, you'll get an automated email about our awesome Members Monday community, because if you like these sessions, you're going to be perfect for Members Monday. Right, so what are we going to do? I'm going to loop through open files and see if we can identify the file named in cell C3. Okay, how about this? So there's a process of identification to go through first. So you don't have to do this, but in the professional setting or doing this file for a customer, I'd always want to validate this first. So I'd want to have a routine first little button saying validate. Is this file actually open? Because that's going to be a source of a lot of errors. So we can just, a stitch in time saves 9. We can check that first. Okay, so how do we loop through open files? What's the concept here? The concept is going to be a for each loop, for each object in a collection. I think 2 sessions ago, session 14, we did a for each loop. Excel consists of objects organized into collections. 2 sessions ago, the object that we were concerned with and the collection that we were concerned with, it was a cell and a collection of cells in a range. There's many different collections of objects, collections of charts, collections of sheets. The collection we're interested in is collection of open workbooks, Okay, let's see if we can utilize that to get this job done. I'm going to say dim Chris WB as workbook here. So we have to declare this object variable. That allows us to navigate through, that allows Excel to loop through the collection of objects. In other words, it allows Excel to look through all of the open workbooks. Okay, then we can get into the for each loop. So I'm going to say for each Chris WB in, then what's the name of the collection? I think we have to say this workbook dot sheets. That's the name of the collection. What does this workbook mean? This workbook means the workbook where the code lives. So it's different from active workbook, which you might have seen, because the active workbook might not be the workbook that actually contains the code. So just something to look out for that. Yeah, when we start working with multiple files, it does take the complexity to the next level, but nothing we can't work through by being kind of steady and systematic. Then I can say next, Chris WB, so I've opened the book, open the loop and close the loop at the same time there. Good. So are you working along with me, guys? Henrik's here. How are you doing, Henrik? Now, Henrik dropped into our stream number 14. Henrik dropped into, and later in the session, I'll share the link. If you want to drop into the stream, ask me some questions, have a chat. I'd love to have a chat with you. I'll drop the link into the stream in 5 or 10 minutes or so. I'll put the link in the chat. Okay, so let's just prove that this loop is working. I'm going to do that with a test. I often use MessageBox for testing. There's other ways to do this testing. I find MessageBox is nice and practical and visual, good for demonstration purposes. So what should this do? Well, I've got 2 workbooks open. You can see at the bottom here, I've got 2 workbooks workbooks open. So Excel should look at both of those workbooks, and it would look at 3 or 4 or 30, depending on how many workbooks you've got open. And it should show us the name of the workbook, but we have a type mismatch here. Yes, that's the wrong collection. Nobody in the chat, DC, did you not get this? Nobody in the chat was backing me up there. This is definitely the wrong collection here. So the collection I was referencing there was the sheets collection. I want to reference the workbooks collection. So we can say workbooks, I believe. Is that it? We're going to see for each Chris workbook in workbooks. Okay. Are we looking at now? We're looking okay. Yeah. So just basic syntax error. That happens to me all the time. I was doing VBA programming all morning and this afternoon, doing a job that I love for a client that I love, and I was making these mistakes all the time, guys. And to be honest, I've said this many times in Members Monday and on YouTube. In real life, I don't work much faster than this. Yeah. I just try to take it very slow, steady and systematic, keep the stress levels down. You know, I've done about 4 or 5 hours coding today, and I've got enough energy in the tank just about to do this session. And then I'll probably do some more coding afterwards as well. That's because I'm steady and systematic the way I go through it. So we've got the name of the first file, okay. And then we'd expect to see hitting F8 and F8 again, the name of the second file. Okay. Okay, sounds good. So we're going through the files, checking the names. Now we want to say, I'm just going to run this routine again. You can see on my system, yeah, my system does pick up the file extension. So try this on your system. Just be aware of that. Does it pick up the file extension or not? I've seen both. If it doesn't pick up the file extension, you might have to check this. Okay, or try the other option rather. Okay, so I'm going to introduce a variable. I'm going to call it OK to start here. What on earth? There's a kind of literal variable name. OK to start. I'm going to call it a Boolean variable. Now this is going to be a kind of gatekeeper variable. Yeah. If this variable is not happy, our routine's not going to run. It's like a validation variable. How does that work in practice? Well, I'm going to initialize this variable, OK to start, as false. So set it to false. And then it's only going to become true if, what do you think? We're going to put a condition in. If the name of the workbook equals the entry that I've got in C3 here. Okay, so this is the actual mechanism I use when I've got to work with multiple workbooks. I use this validation mechanism to make sure everything's going to work okay. If Chris workbook.name equals range C3, then this variable, which is OK to start, we just want to set that to true. Okay, and we're going to reinforce this by let's put a message box in. I just want this message box to tell me. So was it control and space? DC, I love it. Keith and DC, like two angels on my shoulder here. Okay, so message box, and then OK, and then control and space bar. The rest of that variable is populated. How about that? Loving that. What's going on in the chat? And Keith says, absolutely, there should be a workbooks collection. Yeah, talking about debugging and testing, I'm using messagebox to externalize the value of these variables. Debug.print is also an option. I've just found it, I don't know, why debug.print? I've just found it, it just sounds like confusing coding language. I think that's why I don't use it. Welcome, Jeffrey. How are you doing? Good to see you again. Making mistakes and resolving is the best method for learning. 100%, guys, 100%. VBA is never smooth. The work I was doing this morning is never smooth. This stream hasn't been smooth. They never are. But you've just got to love the process. You'll get there in the end, and by the end, you'll be 1%, 5%, 10%, 30% better as a VBA coder, depending on where you are in your career. Right. So the status of this gatekeeper variable, this OK to start variable, is currently false. Then if the name of the workbook is the same as the name of the workbook here, the status of the variable, the value the variable holds, variable, 4 syllables, is going to become true. And we can reinforce that with our message box here. Okay, so that's telling us that everything's okay. Everything's okay to proceed. And we can now try to get some information from that workbook potentially. Now I'm going to set this up exactly as I would do in the real world. I'd have two separate routines here for two separate processes. Let's go ahead and put a button in here. Let's create some room here, Alt-HOW3. Pop a button in here. So developer, insert, form controls, hold down the Alt key to snap to the grid. And then, okay, I'm going to say, yes, do this macro. And then the name of the button here, we're going to call this check. Check. So something, once again, something informative, something communicative on that button, telling the user what the button actually does. Having said that, import data from another file. Okay, I would change the name of this routine to something like validate file. So the name of the routine isn't describing too well what the routine is actually doing. Yeah, but I'm not going to worry about that today. Yeah, you can definitely do that. Then we want a message box at the end. And I'm going to say, okay, so I'm going to say dim user message as string here. Then I'm going to say user message equals file located, okay to proceed. But if okay to start is false, control and spacebar here, then that user message that I've just put in a string variable there is going to equal file not found, please check. And you can, you know, write something more informative than that. If okay to start equals false. I've just accidentally gone into VBA's online help. Do you ever do that? You accidentally hit the F1 key in Excel and the internet starts, you know, churning away. You get some terrible help page. I don't know. Is that useful? Does anybody do that? Maybe I'm being cynical. Does anybody actually hit the F1 key when they're using Excel? Thanks for the comments, guys. And great to see so many people watching today. And Henrik says, a question, what was your definition of the difference between workbooks and active workbooks? So the specific syntax I was talking about, Henrik, is the difference between this workbook and active workbook, this workbook and active workbook. As it turns out, I didn't need that syntax today. I was getting confused, but this workbook means the file that contains the code, the file that contains the code, even if that file isn't the active file. Active workbook means the workbook that's currently active. Yeah, so it's a bit like working on sheets in a file. We can work remotely and do something to a different sheet in VBA, which is what I would recommend. Or you could just say active sheet. You know, that does work, but we lose control because you've got to be very deliberate about what the active sheet is. So I always recommend what I call remote referencing. So not using active workbook, not using active sheet, using code that works regardless of what sheet or workbook is active. Okay, good. Yeah, I'm talking about autocomplete. So I've been using control and spacebar. You can use that for objects and methods as well. Good stuff. Escape. Yeah, DC says, yes, escape is too close. And so F1 happens a lot. Yes, it has. Good. Katie says, Google was my Chris before Chris. Maybe I should get my name kind of mocked up like a Google logo. I don't know. No, I'm very different to Google, I think. I can't believe I just said that publicly. I'm definitely not Google. I don't think I'm offering information. I think I'm offering a kind of experience, I suppose, hopefully a positive learning experience. But anyway, so what's going to happen here? I just want a message box to flash up here. The message box is going to say user message and 0, because I want to control the title of the message box here. And let's say file, I'm going to say data import. So something informative, again, that gives the user a sense of what this message box is all about. Okay, so if we say check now, it says file located, okay to proceed. Lovely. If we make a deliberate mistake here and say check, then we say file not found, please check. So this is, you know, a professional level coding mechanism that I would use. You know, I'd use this pre-validation, and now we're ready to look at another file here. Okay, right, as usual, got into way too much detail here. I'm going to make this a module level variable because we're using two routines here. I want to take the information in this variable to give us permission to go ahead and try to do the second thing, which is going to be just to import some data here, holding down the control key and alt here, and then right click and edit text. I'm going to say import. I'm just going to import some data across here. You see the actual syntax for bringing the data across is not too complicated. Yeah, we're going to see it in just a second. It's kind of a logical continuation of sheets and cells. We just put workbooks on the front. The most difficult part is getting the workbooks talking to each other. So that's why we've been focusing on that. Okay, so we've dealt with identifying the workbook there. So we're now going to say import data. Import data, yeah. And once again, yeah, I mentioned earlier, I'll probably change the name of this routine. I'm not going to do that in this session. Very good. Okay. Jeffrey says, yeah, for your questions, Chris won't answer with you can buy VBA on eBay. Yeah, VBA, you know, it's it always, I don't want to go off on a tangent here, but it always interests me how everything you could possibly want, all VBA is out on the internet. Yeah, there's no secrets. Yeah, the stuff I use, everything I use in my projects, I use in the videos. So it's not the fact that the code isn't there. All the code is there. So you're looking for something else. Yeah. And, you know, you're looking for an explanation. But I think people are actually looking for a bit of a community. That's what I was looking for. I know when I was learning VBA, and I first learned VBA on a master's course, and I had other people around me. I had a brilliant teacher as well, but I had other people around me, and I had a little community, and I got loads of help, you know, when I was first starting. So yeah, here's your community, guys. And of course, if you like this, you're going to love Members Monday. You can go and check that out on the website. Okay, so what do we want to do? Let's move data from A1 on first sheet of origin file to A1 on first sheet of destination file. The destination file being our master file, the file that we're working through, that we're working with at the moment. Okay, so I'm going to say first if OK to start, control spacebar, OK start equals false. Then we're going to have a message box, and we're going to tell the user check file first, something like that, something informative and directive, telling the user what to do. You know, we don't just want to say it's not working or not ready. Be directive. Say it's not working, but do this to make it work. So we can say check file name. I'd actually write more detail on a real world project. Say, you know, check file name in cell C3. You may or may not need the file extension, which is .xls, something like that. Check file name 0, and then check, and then exit sub here, and end if. Okay. So let's just show you this. So I'm going to make sure the status of this variable is false, the OK to start variable. Hit check, file not found, please check. So if I hit import now, we're going to get this message box saying file not found, please. Oh, no, hang on. Yep, I haven't actually attached this variable yet. So assign macro, import data. So we would expect this message box to flash up now. And there's our message box. Okay, good. And then this exit sub means that the routine's not going to go any further. It's going to stop there. It's going to jump out of the routine. Okay, so now we're ready to transfer data. Okay, let's go across to our other file. This is it, live demo file B. And then we say, thank you for watching. See you on Friday. Now, we're not live tomorrow, but we are back on Friday, guys. So make sure you tune in for that. Good. Yeah. Thank you, Michael. Yeah. I enjoy how you explain the why. I love talking about why this is all important. And believe me, in Members Monday, and the people, Jasfin and others who have had, I don't know, the dubious pleasure of meeting me in person, they know I just love talking about this stuff. Yeah, I'll talk about it until you know you had to fall asleep. So it's so interesting, but it's not really YouTube friendly, you see. So you've got to find the right place. Probably not at parties. Right, let's get this done. So the actual piece of code you've been waiting for half an hour is going to look something like this. So it's going to be workbooks. We're going to need another module level variable here. Actually, okay. Yeah, let's try this. Okay, so I'm going to have another variable here to store the name of the workbook. Origin WB name as string. There we go. So if this is the workbook, the target workbook that we want, we're going to say control and space origin WB name equals range C3 here. So I am being a little bit, how would you say, hypocritical here. I'm just using a very simple reference here. I'd actually recommend using the workbook and the sheet and the range here. If you're working across multiple sheets and multiple workbooks, that's what you really should be doing. Just because I'm doing the demonstration, I'm trying to keep things a little bit, how would you say, a little bit, let's just block this user, a little bit briefer as far as we can. Good. Yeah, Kate says, invite, yeah, our party. We had a barbecue at the weekends, but I managed not to talk about VBA. I just basically have to cook the food and not say anything when we have family dues. But seriously, talking about in-person meets and stuff, for our Members Monday community, we have an annual in-person meetup, which is in Nottingham in the middle of the UK. And last year, we had people flying in from the States and Europe and other places, people coming from as far as Birmingham. And we had a great time. So yeah, if you want to take your Excel learning to the next level with a community of like-minded people, guys, it is there for you. You've got to invest in me, got to invest in yourself. And we'd love to have you in Members Monday. And as a little introduction, of course, the link in the chat, you've got the secrets of the random task generator. So it's the video that explains how I created the file that we look at every time in the stream when we try to generate a random task. And you'll also receive an email telling you about Members Monday and giving you my best deal, the best deal I possibly can give you on Members Monday, which is a ridiculously good deal. Okay. So it's an A equals B concept. So origin equals destination. So it's going to be this workbook. It's going to be destination equals origin. Yes. So the destination is going to be this workbook. So I can say this workbook dot sheets, the first sheet in the file, and dot range A1 equals, and now workbooks. And now what's coming next? How am I going to reference this workbook? I can use this. I can use this module level variable here, origin WB name, control space, dot sheets 1, dot range A1. Okay, what do you think? What's going to happen when we run this routine? Now, the notation I'm using here to reference the sheet, this just means the first sheet in the file. Just a quick way to do that sheet reference. Do I recommend it? Probably not. Generally, I recommend using the actual sheet name. Using the index number has specific applications, but can get you in trouble because if the order of the sheets change, that could be difficult for your code. Another way to reference sheets is to use the sheet code name up here, the VBA code name. That has a lot of pros, but one big con, which is if somebody using Excel in a different language tries to use your file, the sheet code name doesn't work. So I've been around all three approaches in my career. The best approach, I think, is to use the actual sheet name. For example, sheet 1. So I'm not using that in this example. Right. What's going to happen when we run this? Pramod is with us. How are you doing? It's a festival. Desera, celebrating the victory. Good at fantastic stuff. Fantastic. Good to hear, Pramod. Thanks for sharing that with us. Put me in a good mood. So I'll put the invite link in the chat. So a couple of streams ago, Henrik came in, asked a few questions, told us about what he's doing in VBA. And yeah, I've got a bit of time. So yeah, I'd love to have a chat with somebody. All you've got to do is follow that link in, then close down the YouTube interface. It takes you to our little backstage area. It's dead easy. I just ask that you have a camera on. There's nobody in the background, particularly no kids. That doesn't work well on YouTube. And then we can have a chat. So I'd love to have a quick chat with you. Got any questions about the VBA we've used today, today's session, Members Monday, anything else we've touched on today, I'll be very happy to have a chat. Okay, so that link is in the chat. Good. So let's work through our process. If I hit check, that's going to validate the file. And now we should be able to work through this routine. Okay. Oh, it didn't seem to work actually. So what's happened here? Now I didn't fix this from my testing. So if I say check, file located, okay to proceed. So if I hit import, what's going to happen here? There we go. So our text has been imported in. Let's try something else. Join me in the stream for a chat. Okay, let's give this a go. So to trigger this macro, yeah, you can hit the F5 key, you can hit the play button. I've already attached it to this button here. So I'm going to go import and join me in the stream for a chat. So that's it. So that's how to move data from one file to another. Now, clearly, that's a fairly simple data transfer, isn't it? It's just a single range. But once you've got through the difficult part, which is referencing the different files, you'll be able to, you can apply whatever techniques you want here. This is a very simple reference, one cell to another cell. You can have a dynamic reference in here. We're going to cover that in this series. Any referencing technique you use, it should work across files. Fantastic. Okay, Keith is going to join us. Keith, are you ready to come in? Just give me a thumbs up. Very good. Right. Okay, let's go here and let's add Keith in. Keith, how are you doing?
Very good, thanks.
Good stuff. And what did you make of the stream, Keith?
I'm enjoying it thoroughly. It's been very applicable to what I've been doing, but I just wanted to say I thoroughly enjoyed yesterday's because that really struck a chord. I made a great deal of use of that.
Good. That was about the tick boxes, yeah, Keith?
Yeah, that's it.
Very good.
And the way the two work together, the false and the checkbox itself, I've actually used that. So there's I think there's a wide range of conditional statements you could use to choose particular check cells. So I had a master one to turn them all on or all off.
Nice. Very good. Because yeah, I do think the check cells are a bit they're a bit more user friendly, aren't they, than actually having to type a value into a cell or even select from a drop down menu. So I do think there's an argument for learning about those tick boxes.
Yeah, I had them for choosing names from a list to print off information.
Yeah, very nice. Good stuff. And while you're here, Keith, you're one of our Members Monday members, of course. So just a few comments about the community.
Brilliant. I love it. It's so supportive. It's encouraging. I wish I'd joined sooner. I wish I found you earlier. I've had a whale of a time.
Yeah, fantastic. And one thing Keith does, I'll just tell you one thing that Keith does. Well, firstly, Keith's a fantastic member. He's always contributing in our member forum, helping out other people, and came to our in-person meet, of course, this summer. But in Members Monday, we've got our content library. So every live stream, we keep it in our content vault, and there's now 105 streams in there. We create what's called a content navigator file. So I pick out 15 learning points from each session, put them in an Excel file. You can click on those and it takes you to the specific point in the stream where we're talking about that topic or demonstrating something. And Keith, you're just working through it, right?
Yeah, got number 35. And
yeah,
the thing I'm doing as well is I'm actually going through all of the homework from the other members as well, so I actually see how they've been doing things and learning from that.
Yeah,
I mean, Ian's a genius. I take my hat off to him. I really learned a lot from him.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Yeah,
Yeah, one point I would like, you talk a lot about punch the air moments. Unfortunately, I tend not to have very many of those. What I tend to have is a lot of slap head moments when I realise I've made
Yes.
an error and I catch it, and also light bulb moments, particularly
Yeah.
with things you've described. And sometimes you see something, oh, it works like that. So I tend to get that rather than a punch the air.
Yeah, yeah, amazing, good stuff. Yeah, you got your light behind you, Keith. If that had just switched on when you said light bulb, it would have been live stream magic. But we'll work on that for next time. Well, Keith, thanks so much for joining us, and
Pleasure.
I'll see you next time in Members Monday, or maybe on Friday for a live session.
Yeah, cheers.
Okay, thanks, Keith. See you soon. Okay, there we have it, guys. So thanks so much for watching. And as I said, if you want to get a little taste for Members Monday, I've put all the information in an automated email that you'll get when you sign up for the Secrets of the Random Task Generator video. This is a 40-minute video where I explain how we put together the random task generator that we use at the beginning of these streams. And yeah, you just sign up for the link. It will send you an automated email. If you don't receive any more emails from me, you just hit the unsubscribe button at the bottom there. So thanks so much for watching, guys, and I hope to see you on Friday for more from 30 Excel VBA Real World Problems and Solutions. Take care. I'll see you then.